Welcome to our today's tutorial, and we are going to learn how to delete data from our contacts table in our SQLite database. And we are also going to use the ADO.NET data providers for the SQLite to be able to perform the delete functions. And basically what is going to happen is that whenever we are going to click on any row, we will capture the ID information, and when we click on delete, we will use that ID information to delete that data from our database, and also will update this data grid. So I will close that form. Then I will make sure that my data grid, which is named contacts grid, has been selected, and I will scroll where there is the click event handler, and I will double click on the click event handler option, and we can see that the click event handler has been added to the code view automatically, and also above here there is the import statements from the system.data.sqlite and also system.data, and these are references that we need to include in our project to be able to use the SQLite database. And also we have the connection string that specify our data source to be the contacts.db database, and also we are using the version 3 of SQLite database, and also there is another attribute which is new and has been set to true, and it means that when we run our application and the database is not available, the system can create a new database. We've also got a contacts ID here, which we will use to hold the contact information, the ID information from the records of our contacts in our table. And so we'll come down here, and I will create a variable, and I will name it row index as integer, and we'll say it's equal to contacts grid dot current row dot index, and I will capture the contact ID, and I will say contacts grid then I will say column, the first column, that is column index 0, and I will also specify the row index from whatever I have actually captured from this value. Then I will say dot value. So as far as we are concerned, that is actually what we need to be able to capture the value for the contact ID from the row in our data grid view. And therefore I will go back to my form and double click on the delete option to expose the delete event handler. Then now I will perform the delete function, and I will first say SQL delete. I'll create a variable named SQLite delete as string, and say equals delete from tbl contacts, which is the name for my contacts table, where ID equals at ID. I'm still going to use parameterized queries for my object command, so that I can prevent my application against SQL injection attacks. Then I will create a new connection object. I will say dim obj connection as SQLite connection, and here I'm going to pass, I'll say new as new SQLite connection, and I'm going to pass this connection string, I will just copy and press Ctrl V to paste. Then I will create a command object. I'll say dim obj command as new SQLite command, and I'm going to pass the obj connection object as a parameter to my SQLite command object. After I've done that, I'm going now to set the parameters, and through the object command, so I'll say object command dot parameters dot add with value, and I'm going to put the double quotes, and I will say at ID, and the value for the ID I'll give it as the contact ID. After I've done that, now I will specify the command type to be a text. So I'll say object command dot command type equals command type dot text. If you're using a stored procedure, you can say command type dot stored procedure. And I will also say I will specify the command text to be the SQL delete string variable, which will contains the delete SQL statement. And after I've done that, I will now open the connection, and the best way to do it is first to check if the connection is closed. Say dot state equals connection state dot closed, and only when it is closed we can open the connection. Then I will create a variable called result as integer. Then I will say object command dot execute none query. The execute none query method returns the number of affected rows. Now in our case, when we perform the delete, which is we're going to delete just one row because we are using the ID, which is a unique value, it's going to return 1, and therefore we will close the connection. And now we are going to check the result. If result is greater than 0, then we are going to display a message box dot show, and we say delete or successful. And therefore what we're going to do, I will set the connection object to nothing, and also the command object to nothing, so that it can be captured by the garbage collector to free any resources for our system. And another important thing that I'm going to do is to refresh my data grid so that the changes can be able to reflect. And I will say context grid dot columns dot clear to clear. Then I will call a function called which I created earlier in our movie. It's called the load grid, which is going to load the grid fresh. So then I'll say load grid. So as far as this tutorial is concerned, this is the code that we need to be able to perform that function, and I'm going to save my project and I am going to run. So we'll give it time to build. And seeing this form, that means our build was successful. So I will select on Mark Zuckerberg and I will click on delete. It will tell me that the delete was successful. When I click OK, it will refresh the data grid. I will also maybe click on Oprah Winfrey and I will say delete, then I will say OK. Now when I close my data grid and relaunch it again, we will see just the two information that was left is what we see. Thank you very much and see you.